In 2014, our goal was to educate and inspire the next generation of young Black leaders. So we set out to find the nation's best of the best to reveal the secrets to success. Our belief is that we should teach the young early the things that we learn late. Our lives are shifting the culture. Our lives are changing the narrative. This is the ShineHard Conversation. Welcome back to another episode of the ShineHard Conversation. I'm your host, Johnny Bailey, and this week I'm in New York at Sportsnet New York with TV anchor Taylor Rooks. Taylor has a phenomenal journey into the broadcast industry, and now she's here making a name for herself in the #1 market in the country. So today she's going to talk about how she got to where she is today, give us a blueprint on how we can get involved in broadcast journalism, and of course share some keys to her personal success. So without further ado, Taylor, it's time to shine.
Let's do it.
So from the outside looking in, it's easy for people to see where you are, but they don't always see how your journey began. So talk about your childhood and what growing up was like for you.
I don't know, growing up for me, I'm from Georgia, so I am a huge Falcons fan.
Hey.
I say that in every single interview I do, so go Falcons, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. But I'm from Georgia, so obviously I grew up in a state that is full of football. College football, everyone loves the Falcons. Not, the Hawks don't really have a die-hard base, but I grew up in the heart of football. Everyone loved it.
Right.
So I really grew up loving that sport. My dad played football, my uncle played baseball, so I just really grew up around a family that's extremely sports oriented. My mom has never lost in fantasy football. We all love it. My mom,
she's the reigning champ.
you don't want to see my mom in fantasy football, okay? And she plays for money.
That's the only way to play.
Exactly. So I just grew up in a family that loved sports. I always knew I wanted to do something involved with the camera, and then since I love sports, it just kind of worked like that. I enjoy talking. I knew it wasn't going to be Serena or anything like that.
Did you play sports growing up?
I ran track in high
Sure.
school. I played soccer when I was young, but I feel like everyone played soccer when they were young. But yeah, I knew I wasn't great at that, but I knew that I could be great at something that involved that. So I decided to pursue sports journalism.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, we all have crazy things that we see and that we aspire to be. What did you want to be when you grew up?
I went through that phase where I really wanted to be a lawyer because my mom's like, you talk a lot, you like to argue, which I do. But so I wanted to be a lawyer. You have that phase where you want to be a football player.
Yeah.
But I think I knew for sure, I want to be on camera, I want to talk to people, I want to tell stories. I've known that since I was probably in middle school. I've always really had a passion for that aspect of journalism.
That's real. So let's talk about your career and how you got started in broadcast journalism.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll start here where we are, this beautiful office. You're doing some amazing things here. Talk about the mission of Sportsnet New York and how you're putting a spin on things here at the network.
I think that one of the main reasons I wanted to come to a place like New York was because it is just the breeding ground for everything that happens. Every big thing comes through New York. If it doesn't start in New York, it's coming through it. And in a place like this, there's an opportunity to break stories. There's an opportunity to tell stories. There's an opportunity to meet the top athletes and allow them to give their story. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to revamp my podcast here and have it really based on talking to athletes, allowing them to speak, allowing them to give their side of whatever it may be. Because I think that we've kind of lost that aspect of sports journalism. I think that we have become too involved with, now I understand sports is personality driven and it's great, it's very media driven, but we've become too involved with what a host has to say about this. If two hosts argue about a topic, it becomes news.
Right.
When I feel like you're not really supposed to be the news.
And so that's kind of the new concept right now of
people arguing.
Yeah.
Yes.
You see that a lot.
So I was like, you know what? I want to do something where it's me and the subject, and they're talking about how everyone else is talking about them, but allowing it to be them.
Right.
So when I have people on the podcast, I think that's one of the things that makes
what's the name of your podcast?
It is called Timeout with Taylor Rooks.
Nice.
Download it on iTunes, SoundCloud.
Hey.
Subscribe. But I think that's one of the reasons that I feel like people feel comfortable coming onto the podcast. I had Kevin Durant on, and he said he wasn't going to do any media during the off season, but he was like, I'll come on because it's a place where you have, I think, very enticing discussion, and I definitely ask you questions that you may not feel comfortable answering, but it's not a place where you come to be attacked.
Right.
And I think sometimes people want to interview athletes just to get them to slip up, or just to get them to say something they know is going to go viral and go crazy.
Right.
And I mean, those things have happened on the podcast, but not in a way that is malicious.
Right.
It's just a way that happens in daily conversation.
Right. Organic.
Yes, exactly. So I think that that's one thing I wanted to bring to SNY, was a place that really gave not just me a voice, but also athletes a voice. And
How are you positioning yourself as a trusted reporter in the sports industry? Because you said there's so many reporters or people who are trying to like get that in to use these athletes. What separates you from the rest in regards to that?
You know, I think that social media has a lot to do with it. I'm extremely vocal on social media, whether it be about race or politics or how I think something is fair or unfair. And I think that when you feel like you're getting a piece of somebody, it's easier for you to feel as though you can give them a piece of you.
Right.
I think people know where I stand on certain things. I think people know the way I feel about certain things and how I'm going to react to things, and that I'm open to having an open dialogue about all subjects.
Right. Are you afraid to be polarizing?
No, I don't think so. I think that, I mean, I think it depends on some things, but I think that if my view was a certain thing, if you want to view it as polarizing, then you can, but it's not going to change that that's how I feel about it.
Right.
You know, I think kind of polarizing is in the eye of the beholder. You
Right,
know,
okay.
you may think it's polarizing, but someone else may think she's just speaking her truth. You know?
Yeah. So taking it back a little bit, when you look at high school and college, what were the initial steps you took to gain experience?
What did I do to get it? Honestly, most of it was in college. When I was a freshman, I started this blog. It had like the lamest name ever. It's called The Online Sideline.
That's not too bad.
And in that blog, I interviewed whoever I could, like if it was team managers, if it was somebody in my family, someone I knew from high school, just to get better at storytelling, get better at interviewing. And then eventually, after I started that blog, it's actually really funny. I always tell this story. Like, I was a sophomore, and I was like, you know, I need to have some really good interviews on my reel. I need to build it up. I need to show that I can do this. So I was like, I'm going to go to All-Star Weekend. I'm going to get a credential, and I'm going to interview Kobe Bryant and LeBron and all these people. So I'm like hounding the NBA communications people about giving me a credential. Like, this little blog, I like kept emailing. They gave in and gave me a credential.
Wow.
So me and two of my friends drove to Orlando.
Oh, I was at that All-Star
Were
Weekend
you?
too.
Yes. Yeah. Drove to Orlando for All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
And I just got as many interviews as I could. And I posted that, and like some of them got like picked up. People were watching. Fox Sports eventually saw my blog.
So who did you interview?
Kevin, Derrick Rose, Kobe Bryant.
Oh, you was lit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was like sticking my mic in everyone's face. But it's funny, and I said this on the podcast with Kevin Durant, was the reason that, like, I think Kevin is able to come on the podcast was, so when I was at All-Star Weekend, I was obviously totally inexperienced. I didn't know really how to interview, how the scrum worked.
Yeah.
And so when it was all done, I wasn't able to interview Kevin Durant. I took so long I couldn't go over there and do it. So I went over there, and all his media person and his security guard and everybody is like, he's not doing interviews, he's done. But he was like, no, I'll do the interview. So he did the interview, and I always say, like, I think that when you're young and you're trying to really get stuff done and you're trying to like make it big and just work, a lot of people tell you no. You know, a lot of people say, no, I'm not going to give you your credential. No, you can't do this. No, you don't have enough experience. But I always remember Kevin because he said yes, you know, when he really didn't have to. So I think All-Star Weekend was really like an awakening for me. Like, you know, you can do this. Like, if you really work hard, you really can do this. And so I posted that stuff on Fox Sports, called me and asked me to intern with them my junior and senior year. So then I did that and covered Illinois football and basketball and recruiting. And then when I graduated, I got the job offer from Big Ten Network, and I worked there for 2 years and then came here.
So you were in Chicago at Big Ten?
Yes.
Nice.
And I miss Chicago.
Do you?
Yes.
It's a beautiful city.
Best food, like, it's amazing.
It is.
It really is.
So going from high school to college with Big Ten, and now you're here at Sportsnet, who have been some mentors who have really guided you along the way professionally?
Carrie Champion is a huge mentor of mine. She is like my favorite person on earth.
She's dope.
Yeah, she's
Very
just like
dope.
such a boss. She's so good at what she does. I think the thing I admire the most about her is she's herself. And I
Right.
think sometimes people get into this job and almost feel like they have to compromise parts of themselves, like they can't be too much, they have to
Right.
kind of tone themselves down. But Carrie's like, this is who I am, and who I am is going to get me to where I want to be.
Wow.
And I think she's really mastered being comfortable with who she is and making people love who she is.
Yeah.
And she's always there when I need advice. Like, she's like my shopping partner.
What's the best piece of advice she's ever given you, or maybe something that you just learned in the industry that still sticks with you today?
I mean, I think it's really that, what I said about just being who you are and like
yourself.
not feeling like you have to change. Like, it sounds like such a tiny piece of advice,
Right.
but I think there's a lot of people that have changed and have had to compromise who they are to do this. I think Carrie hasn't, and that's why I really look up to her. She's probably been my biggest mentor.
That's real.
And there's people I haven't met that I love, of course, like Robin Roberts and Doris Burke.
Yeah. That kind of goes into my next question. When I sit down with people on this show, it's like influencers will inspire thousands and thousands of people, but it's always fascinating to me to really understand who inspires the influencers.
Yeah, nice.
So
Yeah.
if you, had to name 3 or 4 people on your Mount Rushmore of inspiration,
Oh, I can't.
who would you say?
Okay, Carrie,
Okay.
Oprah,
Hey.
Michelle Obama, Pam Oliver are probably the ones for me. If I had to just name 4 for Mount Rushmore.
There's a lot of black girl magic on that.
It
on Mount
is.
Rushmore.
Ain't it beautiful?
It is. It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, but no, all of those people are really excel at their job, have been pioneers in what they do.
Yeah.
So I'll always look up to that.
For sure. So a major staple of this project is passion changes everything.
Okay.
And we say that because we really believe that passion leads us to our purpose. And I think there's no doubt about it that you're walking in your purpose right now. So I'm curious to know, what would you say is your passion, and when did you know?
I think my passion really is people. People and learning about people and telling people about people is just something that I have always loved. That I think that there is a lot of things in the world where you can't find realness and you can't find truth, but I think that journalism and reporting should be about truth and realness.
Right. It's very hard to find authenticity out here sometimes.
Exactly. And I think that being able to bring that to the forefront and bring that to light is something that has always driven me and something that I've always been passionate about. I think that every single person has a story. I think, seriously, every single person is interesting.
Yeah.
I could talk to people all day long. And so I think that that's really what my passion is people. Helping people, spread whatever it is about them that makes them special, whatever it is that needs to be told. And that's just always really driven me in this job.
What's been your biggest challenge in your career?
Biggest challenge. I think that the biggest challenge for me is probably the biggest challenge for every woman in journalism, maybe every woman in general. Right now, there's this, and I think a lot of it has to do with social media, but there is this idea that everything is about how you look. People just only care about the aesthetic of you and kind of, your physical appearance.
Everybody's putting on for the gram.
Exactly. And so I think that being able to find that balance and make sure people understand that you are very good at your job. It's not just about the way you look or the way you act. It's that you're good at your job.
Right.
But
So how do you do that? How do you specifically, leverage aesthetics with passion and talent?
Yeah. I mean, I think I feel that way every time I break a story. I'm like, I did that because I asked the right question. You know what I mean? But I also think that you can be, feminine and look nice and still be strong and smart and knowledgeable. Those two can coexist. And sometimes we'll feel as though you can't have both because one is outweighing the other, and they can be equal and great, and it doesn't mean anything. I think that people try to put women into a box by saying that she's this, so she can't be this. I think every woman deals with that people see them as a woman before they see them as a journalist, or they see them as pretty before they see them as smart.
Right.
And that's something that, all of us have to overcome. You want to, show the good story, show the good interview, show that you are here because you're supposed to be here.
Right.
But I think that, like I said, I think that goes for all women. That's just sadly kind of how the world works.
Absolutely. Equality is something that's always having to be fought for in a way, and I think that you're doing a great job of pushing that envelope forward and, showing people that women can do the job just as much.
Oh, thank you.
Men.
I appreciate that.
I think we all have a responsibility to push our gender, our race, our culture forward. And it's awesome that you're doing that.
Thank you so much. Yeah, whenever, everyone's always like, you're in a male-dominated career, but I'm like, I don't even want to give them enough power to call it male-dominated.
You don't even want to acknowledge that fact.
Yeah, I'm like, there's so many women in this industry completely killing it that I think that it's like we dominate so many facets of it as well.
Right. And there's a lot of women in sports on TV right now.
Yeah,
like
which is amazing.
Every show has a woman, and I'm like, okay, I can see the voices, kind of balancing out there.
Yeah, and so much more diversity. Like, I remember the first time I saw Pam Oliver on TV and thought, like, she looks like me. Growing up, there wasn't that many black female journalists, and it makes me feel so good that now younger women can look at the TV and see so many women journalists that look like them,
Absolutely. That's so important. Just
that representation.
The awareness. Yeah, absolutely.
Just saying, like, I can do this because she did. It's hard to envision yourself in a role where you see nobody that looks like you.
Yep. That's what this project is all about. ShineHard is about representation in a variety of industries to say, hey, I can do it too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think that's amazing that people will be able to look at these videos and say, you know what, this person, like you said, is a plastic surgeon or a business owner or a journalist or a writer, and if they can do it, so can I.
Yep.
So I think that's amazing.
Do you believe every person has a vision or a dream?
I do. I think that the problem with it is trying to find it, and even more than finding it is pursuing it.
Right.
It's easy to be scared when you're passionate about something. Like, I think sometimes people do get scared of failing at it.
So what separates people who have made their dream a reality and the people who haven't?
I mean, honestly, doing it. I mean, everybody can have a passion, but it's like, is your passion going to push you forward enough to make it your life? You have to think that when you love something, you have to make it your life. I don't think that you can really excel at it if you kind of make it like a little part of it, or just like something you do on the side.
It can't be a hobby.
Yeah.
It can't be a part-time hustle if you want it to be,
like do it all the time. I mean, like in college, every summer I was interning, like I would miss class sometimes because I'd have to go to the games, like you have to sacrifice a lot of things, but the reward is going to be so much greater than any sacrifice that you make, So I think that's the main thing, is just realizing that the passion is worth all the other stuff.
Yep. What inspires you to succeed?
I don't know. Like, I just think, like, obviously my family. I mean, they are like the most supportive people that I have, and I've just always wanted to make them proud and make them happy. But I have always just wanted to be, like, I've always wanted to be significant. I have wanted to, like, change something about something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I've always felt that way. I knew I wanted.
I understand the feeling.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be in front of people and talk to people and bring awareness to things. Like, I can't remember a time that I didn't feel that way.
Right. Like a greater purpose. Over your life.
And so I think that that's just what I want to be remembered for, something, as something. I want to tell stories that mean something. I think that's really where it comes from.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you reading these days?
What am I reading? I actually just got done with David and Goliath.
Okay.
I really love Jodi Picoult. So
is that by Malcolm Gladwell?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I need to read Outliers.
Yes.
I'm not read Outliers.
You do need to read Outliers.
Yeah. After I finish David and Goliath, I'm like googling about everything else I need to read. So I need to do Outliers. I just finished this Jodi Picoult book. It's her newest one. It's called like I want to say it's called Small Little Things, but that's wrong.
Okay.
But it's essentially about like this teacher who was white, and there's this nurse who is black, and the nurse, I don't want to give away the book, but somebody comes into the nurse's like office. They're pregnant.
Okay.
And they don't want her to deliver the baby because she's black.
Oh.
And it's just kind of about like,
So what time period was this? Like,
it's current.
oh wow.
Yeah, so it's like deals with race relations currently, but in a really interesting point of view, an interesting way. But if I like say anything else about it, I'm gonna give it
You
out.
gotta ruin the book.
It's a
Spoiler alert!
Great thing. It's
Oh
something.
my
It's
gosh.
Jodi Picoult's latest book. I know I have the
You
title
guys check
wrong.
that out.
So
Look it up. Google it.
yes, it's like small great things, something like that. But it's very good.
We'll find it.
Yes.
So speaking of race relations, I would say the political climate in this country is a little rocky since the recent election.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A little.
Yeah, that's understatement. We both know how the magnitude of that.
Yeah.
But we have Colin Kaepernick versus the NFL. We have the horrific protests that are going on in Virginia recently. What's your stance as a public figure on the issues of Black communities today?
I mean, I could go on and on about this. I think it is extremely sad, of course. But I think that the only, and I don't even want to use the word good thing, but the only kind of positive thing that has come out of this is I think that it's impossible to ignore racism now. I think that for a really long time, people have been saying it's not like this anymore, like eventually we're going to grow out of racism. Yeah, I'm like, tell that to the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis and all the people that were there being violent simply because they feel like because they're white they're superior than people who are not. And I think that there is this idea, which is absurd to me, that the burden to stop the oppressor is on the oppressed, and it's not. It's not our job to meet racists halfway, you know? Like I saw some people tweeting that I guess Kevin Durant said that he wasn't going to go to the White House.
Right.
And everyone's like, well, no, if you really care, you need to go there and you need to talk to him and show unity. I'm like, why show unity to somebody who has not shown you unity?
Right.
What is going to the White House going to change for Donald Trump? If anything, you're inspiring people by saying, I'm not going to stand up to this, I'm going to stand up to this, I'm not going to associate myself with somebody who has those views, because you don't want to enable that type of mindset. And I just think it's disturbing that we now have this idea, I guess people are calling, you have the alt-right, of course, alt-right, which really means white supremacists.
Right.
But
Southern
now,
segregationists, all this
yes.
other BS names that they give it, instead of calling it what it really is terrorism.
Exactly. So you have the alt-right, but now people all of a sudden have made up this thing called the alt-left. When really an alt-left person is somebody who believes there shouldn't be Nazis, there shouldn't be racism, there shouldn't be white supremacists. Like, that shouldn't be a stance that you take. Everybody should just automatically be alt-right. You shouldn't be alt-right or alt-left. You are here, you're against the Nazis and racism and everything else, and people that are that, they're on another side.
Right.
But for people to feel like you have to, like you choose one side is amazing to me. Every single person on earth should feel like they are alt-left.
Right.
And there should be these
like human
outliers.
race. I'm pro-human race.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
I don't think that that's a side that you pick.
Yeah.
And so I think it's sad that that's becoming a thing. It should be everyone else is against these people, and these people are the ones that have chosen a side.
Yeah.
We haven't. We've just chosen what you should choose.
Right. Absolutely.
You know? So I think it's sad. I think Kaepernick should be in the NFL. I talked about
Will he
that
get
to
signed this year?
exhaustion.
I've heard a lot of people say they don't think he'll ever play another game.
I mean, I believe in speaking things into existence, so I'm gonna say he will get signed.
He needs to get
yes,
signed.
but I get it. I mean, like, it looks bleak.
How many quarterbacks have to get injured for him
I
to
mean,
get a
Blake
callback?
Bortles was so bad.
Horrible.
I'm like, you're telling me Colin Kaepernick isn't as good as Blake Bortles? But
The
I
coach
mean,
said they're
it's
not
sad.
going to pass the ball this year.
Which is like the quarterback's job, Or like, Jay Cutler, like everyone's saying Colin Kaepernick has to prove that he cares about football still. Jay Cutler was like, I had to be convinced to join this team. I'm like,
Yeah.
Colin Kaepernick clearly
He
cares.
was like, I'm out of shape, but I don't really need to be in shape to be quarterback.
It's sad,
It was
it really is. Just because something he's doing makes you uncomfortable, you
Right.
feel as though it's something that shouldn't be discussed or that he shouldn't do, and that's not the truth. He should be able to speak his truth in whatever way he wishes, in a peaceful way, but it did bring awareness, which
Yeah.
I think is the most important thing.
Yeah,
It really did.
that's what's come from a lot of these situations. When we look at more of like in the community practical level, what can young Black millennials do to take action other than just post on social media?
I mean, I think the main thing, honestly, is educating people. Sometimes people don't want to have the conversation, but I think the conversation needs to be had. I think a lot of the time, Black people feel as though when somebody feels a certain way, you can't say anything about it or challenge it because you're going to be perceived as angry or mad. But I think that if you're saying something that is genuinely wrong, I think it's everyone's responsibility, whether you're Black or white, to correct that. And so I know there's a lot of these like social media activists,
Right, all over.
but
and it's good to be a part
I
of
was
the
gonna say,
conversation.
I think it really does play a role. I think a lot of things have changed because of social media,
Right.
and because people have decided that they want to say something about something on Twitter.
Right.
So I don't want to knock that down because I do think it plays a really, really big part.
Absolutely.
And everything, but it's about having the conversation, talking about it.
Education is key.
Yeah.
I think once you educate yourself on the history of the country and the history of Black people and what's going on, it gets a sense of awareness.
For sure.
And a consciousness, and they say woke. You stay woke.
Yeah,
You become
I've
woke.
realized a lot of people really just don't know.
They just don't know.
A lot of people really just don't know. I remember when all that affirmative action stuff started happening, some people that I know genuinely thought every Black person goes to college for free. I'm like, that's not how. Yeah, I'm like, that's not how it works. They're like, well, you know, she got to go to college because she got financial aid because she's Black. I'm like, that isn't true. But I think that you're told something once and then it just kind of passes along. But
right. Propaganda and
it's like I think that you have to
misinformation.
have the conversations.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Some people really are just unaware.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So.
So, in conclusion, with kind of a career overlook, what would you say to the young boys and girls in our community who want to shine in the broadcast journalism industry? What advice would you give? What's the mindset?
I would just say continue to work really hard. Continue to follow the thing that you know is your passion. Like, don't feel like you have to be something else or someone else. The same thing that I would say Carrie told me. I think that is the best advice I ever got. You're going to do the job well if it's the job that you feel like you're supposed to be doing. Anything else, it won't be as good as the thing that's really true to yourself.
That's real.
You know, if you feel like your strength is talking to people and telling stories, pursue that. Don't think that you won't succeed at it and do something else. You're not going to be as good at anything other than the thing that you know you love.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
We all have something that we're meant to do. We all have that brilliance inside of us that has to be tapped into and discovered.
Like I feel like if I went on to be a lawyer, I don't think I'd be that good at it because I don't think it was like what I really wanted to do.
You get tired of arguing with people.
Exactly, you know. But this, I know I'll never get tired of telling stories. I know I'll never get tired of talking to people. I'll never get tired of interviewing people. So I think it's just attack the thing that you know you want to do and attack it fully.
So Taylor, thank you for the hospitality. Really appreciate you bringing us in and sharing inspiration with our community. Let everyone know how they can find you online.
Okay, you can find me on Twitter at Taylor Rooks, Snapchat at Taylor Rooks, Instagram at Taylor Rooks. I make it very easy. It's TaylorRooks, and you can download and subscribe to my podcast, Timeout with Taylor Rooks, on iTunes and on SoundCloud.
Awesome. You guys can find me, Johnny Bailey, at @1Johnny Bailey. Follow the ShineHard family at ShineHard Fam on Instagram. And in conclusion, educate yourselves on the issues, join the conversation, and get in the community and take action. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. Shine for the culture. Taylor, thanks.
Thank you.
Again, our goal is to help young Black boys and girls discover their passion and change the world, but we cannot do this without the help of the ShineHard community. Will you be the milestone donor that helps a 17-year-old Black girl learn the path of a plastic surgeon? Will you be the keystone donor that helps a 22-year-old graduate break through into the tech industry? We as a community can accomplish so much together, but the time to act is now. Here's what you can do. Scroll down, click donate, and invest in the future of our community. I'm Johnny Bailey, and together we shine.